What if I told you the newest SUV entering the US market comes with more torque than some sports sedans? A cabin that feels genuinely premium, and one feature that no mainstream brand has dared to offer at this price point. Well, that's exactly what this new release brings, and it's already turning heads across the industry. Welcome back to Pixel Motor Hub, but with all the hype building around this SUV, the real question is the story behind it actually as impressive as it sounds, or are we looking at another overpromised launch? Let's break it down, asterisk. The SUV we're looking at today comes from a brand that's been quietly climbing the global ranks, not with flashy promises, but with consistent innovation and a growing reputation for value. Over the past few years, this company has turned from a regional manufacturer into a serious international contender, and this latest model is aimed squarely at the US market. It's designed for families who want space, tech lovers who want modern features, and everyday drivers who want strong performance without overspending, asterisk. What makes this launch especially interesting is how confidently it steps into a segment dominated by long-established names. It doesn't try to mimic its rivals, it tries to outsmart them, with a design that looks sharper, a cabin that feels more upscale, and early claims that hint at surprising power and efficiency, asterisk, and that's why today's review matters. Because if this SUV delivers on even half of what the brand is promising, it could shake up the market in a way few newcomers ever manage. So in just a moment, we're going to break down its exterior, interior, tech, performance, and real-world value to see whether it truly deserves the attention it's getting, asterisk. From the moment you walk up to this new SUV, it's clear the brand wanted to make a statement, one that blends confidence with modern simplicity. The front fascia is bold without being overdone, with sharp LED headlights that stretch into the grille and create a clean, high-tech signature. The sculpted body lines give it a slightly athletic stance, and the floating roof design adds a touch of premium flair usually reserved for much pricier models. Even the wheel options look well thought out, giving the SUV a planted, upscale presence on the road. But it's when you step inside that things get even more interesting. The cabin immediately feels more expensive than its segment suggests. Soft touch materials wrap the dashboard, the stitching looks genuinely high quality, and the seats strike a balance between comfort and firmness that works for both long drives and daily commuting. The centerpiece, of course, is the large infotainment display, responsive, bright, and packed with features that drivers actually use. Wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, customizable drive modes, a panoramic sunroof, and ambient lighting give it the kind of personality that makes the cabin feel alive without being overwhelming, asterisk, and tech doesn't stop there. The digital instrument cluster is crisp and surprisingly intuitive. The safety suite includes adaptive cruise control, lane centering, blind spot detection, and an auto parking feature that might surprise you with how confidently it works in tight spaces. For families, the rear seats offer excellent legroom, and the cargo space is wider and deeper than most direct rivals. You can easily picture it handling road trips, Costco runs, or everyday school pickups without breaking a sweat, asterisk. Now let's talk performance, because this is where things start to differentiate it from the pack. The brand claims torque figures that outshine some well-known competitors, and on the road those numbers feel real. Acceleration is smooth and stronger than expected, especially in sport mode, where the throttle response sharpens noticeably. The steering is light but accurate, making city driving surprisingly effortless. And while this isn't a hardcore off-roader, the suspension tuning keeps the ride composed even on rougher pavement, asterisk. Of course, it isn't perfect. The engine noise can creep in under heavy acceleration, and the infotainment layout, while beautiful, takes a little time to get used to. But these aren't deal breakers. They're more like reminders that this SUV is aiming to compete above its class, not redefine it entirely, asterisk still. The real question is how these strengths translate when you stack it against its biggest rivals. Because on paper, this SUV looks like a serious contender. But what happens when we compare real-world fuel efficiency? How does it handle a direct performance matchup? And what about pricing? Will the final numbers make it a no-brainer or a tough sell? We're about to dig into the part most buyers care about most, the highlights, the drawbacks, and the surprising areas where this SUV either overperforms or falls short. And trust me, a few of these results may change how you look at this brand entirely. And this is where everything we've talked about so far comes to a head. Because once you take this SUV out of the controlled test environment and into real-world conditions, something unexpected happens. It starts performing like a vehicle that costs far more than it actually does. The moment you press down on the accelerator during a highway merge, the torque kicks in with a punch that feels almost electric. There's no hesitation, no sluggish buildup, just an immediate surge that pushes you forward with surprising confidence. In sport mode, the steering stiffens, the throttle sharpens, and the whole SUV takes on a personality you wouldn't expect from something positioned in the affordable family segment. It's the kind of performance moment that makes you sit back and think, okay, they weren't exaggerating. Asterisk, but the biggest surprise comes in the handling test. Most SUVs in this price range lean heavily into comfort, sacrificing body control during sudden lane changes or tight corners. This one doesn't. Instead, it stays composed, planted, and even a little playful, almost as if the engineers tuned it to challenge class leaders rather than imitate them. You feel this balance between stability and agility, and it becomes the exact moment where the SUV transcends its marketing pitch and proves something real. Asterisk. Even the braking test delivers a twist, shorter stopping distances than expected, with a pedal feel that's firm and reassuring rather than spongy or vague. And yet, it's not all perfect. Under hard acceleration, engine noise creeps back in, and during aggressive cornering, you can feel the limits of the platform. These imperfections are small, but they're the kind of details that matter when comparing this SUV to more established rivals. Still, the turning point is clear. This model doesn't just meet expectations. At times, it genuinely exceeds them. And if you've been watching so far thinking this SUV is just another budget-friendly newcomer, this moment might flip your perspective entirely, because now the real question becomes, with all this performance and value, is it actually the smartest buy in its segment, or is there a catch? Let's get into the final verdict. Asterisk. So after looking at the design, the tech, the real-world performance, and the few imperfections that showed up during testing, what's the final verdict on this SUV? Simply put, it's one of the most compelling new options in its segment, especially for buyers who want premium features and strong performance without paying premium brand prices. Its biggest strengths are crystal clear, a modern, upscale interior that genuinely feels a cut above the competition, surprisingly punchy acceleration for everyday driving, and a suite of tech and safety features that make it feel future-ready. Add in the generous cabin space, smart practicality, and competitive efficiency, and you get an SUV that checks almost every box for families, commuters, and tech-focused drivers alike. Asterisk, but it's important to stay honest about the drawbacks. The engine noise during hard acceleration won't impress everyone, and the infotainment system, while beautiful, does have a learning curve. And depending on how pricing lands in your region, some rivals may still offer better long-term brand confidence. These aren't deal breakers, but they are worth keeping in mind if you're someone who prioritizes refinement above all else. In the broader US market, though, this SUV represents something bigger. It shows just how quickly new players are raising the bar. It pressures established brands to innovate faster, offer more features, and rethink what value really means. And if this is the direction the segment is heading, the next few years could become very interesting for anyone shopping for a family SUV. So who is this SUV best suited for? If you want a stylish, tech-loaded, surprisingly energetic daily driver that delivers more than you expect for the price, this might be the one to put at the top of your test drive list. And if you're comparing multiple models, this one absolutely deserves a closer look because it may offer more real-world value than you think. But what do you think? Does this SUV deliver enough to shake up the market, or are the big brands still safe? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you enjoyed the breakdown, and subscribe to Pixel Motor Hub for more honest, in-depth car reviews coming your way.